So Chris, I wanted to tap into your playing career, because you played as a fullback. How do you feel like that position has changed from when you were playing to now?
Really good question, because the way the game's evolved, the role of all positions, but definitely as a fullback, has totally changed with regards to the way teams sort of build from the back. You know, it was very much the keeper would kick it long and we would go up, or the keeper might throw it out to you and then you would play long. I tried to play short, but I got in a lot of trouble with my managers over the year. So maybe I was born in the wrong era or played in the wrong era. But I think fullbacks now have a lot more touches. Defenders do, centre backs do. I think I love to say defending's gone out the game, because that's not right. I think there was a lot more duels and you took it more personal as a fullback. And I almost saw my role as stopping the right wing. I was the left back, and if you got a crossing, I was upset for the next 7 days. You know, if he assisted a goal, I was upset for the next 14 days. And if he scored, forget it. You know, so I took it real personal. And you know, the game evolves, so it's hard to say whether it was better then to now. But you know, I still look at fullbacks in what would I have done, you know, in that situation. You get more goal scoring fullbacks, I feel now, because they're joining in a lot more. But what does tend to happen, it always goes back round. So, you know, looking at fullbacks then to now is different. But who's to say in the next 10, 15 years, the role of fullback may go back to sort of what it was when I was playing.
When I was speaking to Jack earlier, he was talking about how he's a Jack Wilshere way. It's just when he wants to win games of football.
Yep.
And at this club at the moment, there's multiple systems he can play, especially before you arrived, where you can play 5 at the back,
yep,
you can play 4 at the back.
Yeah.
How important is that role of whoever plays fullback or wingback here? Because it feels like, I don't know, when we don't have the right personnel, we're either forcing a winger to play there or we're forcing a centre half to play there. So how important is it to have, I guess, the right personnel?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because it's fair to say that, you know, if you're playing a wing-back system, then, you know, the profile of that wing-back can look different. It can be, you know, some teams play full-backs that can go forward. Some teams play wingers that are good going forward but might have to help out at the back and they're okay. Some teams play one wing-back that's more defensively minded and more attack-minded on the other side. Full-backs, I think if you play as a full-back in a back four, you have more defensive work, you're covering more, there's not as much space when, as a wing-back, you vacate that area that a centre-back has to come into. He has to be comfortable going out 1v1. So there's so many different facets and ideas around being a full-back. I think at this club we've just come in. We know what group we have, and you know, we've got to look at the profiles. And if we're going to settle on a 4, because obviously Jack is very open-minded, if he settles on a 4, then the profile of those players have to be right. But equally, you've got to have, you know, players that can play there and are used to playing there, you know. And sometimes, unfortunately, you do have to put players in to cover what you don't have, you know. So obviously, sometimes you might have to play a player at full-back who's been a centre-back, but do a job because there's, you know, injuries or lack of form, whatever. But ultimately, whenever you put out a team, you want the profile of that player to be suited to that position.
In terms of what we saw on Saturday against Mansfield, did you learn a lot more about
just
these
a bit,
players?
just a bit, yeah, just a bit. And I was saying this to a few friends. I was kind of happy, and don't take that literally, that I saw it early. No, that I saw it early. No, I'm not happy that we lost, but actually I experienced it early, and then actually we know there's a bit of work to do here. So that's the only thing that I could say was a small positive. There weren't many, of course, but because you want to win games, you want to play well, but ultimately you want to get your 3 points and your first one on board. But yeah, we understand there's a lot to do to turn what has been a real positive story embraced by everyone. I mean, Luton were everyone's second team almost only a couple of seasons ago, and now it's, you know, negative, and we're well aware and we understand that, but we've got to do our best to turn that around, and we need everyone. We need the help of everyone. It's not them and us. I really don't want that. I don't want it to be them and the players. That we've got to have this, we've got to be energised, we've got to have a synergy, we've got to have a togetherness that will help us. It's the only way, you know, it's the only way forward.
With your experience being with England and also with Sheffield Wednesday, obviously with England, loads and...
I was going to say, England and Sheffield Wednesday, it's two totally different things.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
with England, yes, loads of pressure, loads of media attention, the noise,
Yeah.
and then at Sheffield Wednesday with the owners as well. How do you just get the players? Because obviously I'm not comparing that to what's happening here, but there's definitely frustration.
Yeah.
You know, I can't deny that. But how do you get that from the players just focusing on the task in hand? And as you've got experience of being with a group of players still achieving that target with the background, knowledge and background, how do you just get them to think, right, focus on your football, and then get the fans will come?
Sheffield was a bit different in respect of we knew that we were going to get hurt along the way. You got to get your first win on board as soon as, and then we just said, you know, this is a journey. We lost the first 2 games, went in with Danny, hadn't won for 13 games, and we only won 1 in the first 19. So everyone was saying, you're not going to make it. But we turned that into a positive, you know, and actually the supporters slowly but surely started to see what we were trying to do, and Danny was leaning from the front. He was very positive, he was very bullish about what we could achieve, and it seeps into the players' mindset and it seeps into the fans' mindset, you know, and we went on a journey. It was the last game of the season, stayed up. Similarly with England, slightly different because it's the nation's team. So everyone's got an opinion, but I think what was so clever there by Gareth was he made everyone join in. You know, he made the players be quite vulnerable with regards to when they meet in the media. He said, tell them your story, be open. And there was a lot of people that sort of sympathised with some of the players' stories. We were winning games, qualifiers. England always win qualifiers, so that still helps, and qualifying for tournaments. But then going deep into tournaments, that helps again, even though ultimately you're there to win. Didn't achieve that, but I feel similar vibes here with respect of we have to reconnect. We have to understand where we are right now and take that on board. There's frustration in that, I get that, because the positive element is so fresh. It was only 2 seasons ago, you know, not that long ago. So this club's been on quite a unique journey, not only recently, but for many a year. You know, I've been speaking to fans that, you know, was it Braintree, lost to Braintree, could have gone up, you know, I've been told. But what happened? Next season you came back, and that's not going to stop. But you support your club, you pay your money because you want your team to win, you want your team to be successful. But equally, when it's not going your way, your support is valued even more, I feel. Valued even more. Because you're going to help turn it around. You're going to help those players, young players that can have fragility, can have a little bit of confidence knocked out of them. You're going to help them get that confidence back. You're going to help them express themselves and play the way they want to play and play the way, you know, Jack wants them to play. You're going to be part of that. And I understand that, you know, this journey is with you and for you. You know, is it for us? A little bit. But we're not here forever. You guys are. You know, it's passed down, it's generations. You're here forever. You want to see your team at the Kenny, eventually at a new stadium, be in the best position they can be. So we're not right now. But that's part of being a fan. That's part of being a player that, you know, we have to all together be as positive we can to try and just get it back to a level that we want it to be at.
I always say, like, if you're here for the bad times, you get rewarded for the good times. So
absolutely.
With things in mind, when confidence is not at an all-time high, things are not going for you, how do you know when to find the right balance with certain players in putting an arm around them or actually giving them a telling off? Because saying they're not doing enough.
We haven't been here that long. We haven't been here that long. But we are getting to know them. We're trying to create an environment that allows them to be free, allows them to be vulnerable, allow them to make mistakes. Not saying that wasn't here before, I can't talk about that. I'm just talking about the last 10 days. We're seeing a group that are trying, a group that wants to do well. And it's a new group as well. You know, I think everyone's got to remember it's a new group, not for us, for the football club in general. You know, you've lost a lot of big players, a lot of big characters, you know, without harking back to the good days, but, you know, the Ruddocks, Lockyers, Morris, big players, you know, big characters, big leaders, and we have to find them again, and hopefully we'll find them within this group. But they're finding themselves, they're finding about Luton Town, they're finding out about what it takes to be a Luton Town player. You find resilience is through experiences. That's how I see it, that you've been through a tough period, you get through it, and when it comes again, you know what it takes. So we're at that, or at the beginning of a journey that we're trying to help them, we're trying to cajole them, we're trying to give them ideas on the pitch. You know, Jack is very intelligent football. You know, football intelligence is second to none. You know, Tim with his experiences at Arsenal, Bridgie with his experiences of, you know, coaching players and coaching teams, and myself and Kev Foley and Kevin Pilkington. You know, I feel that we have enough to get this group to where we want to get them to. You know, when will that be? I wish I could tell you. You know, we want it sooner rather than later, but we know we've got a group that can do something, and, you know, over time it evolves, and you have people that you know, join a club that is trying to get somewhere and be as positive as we can for the outlook of and future of Luton Town.
As a number two to Jack, how can you find the right balance in terms of when you need to step in and when to not step in? Because obviously, as a young manager, he's bound to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But when is it actually?
So will I, by the way.
Yeah, of course. But obviously, with your experience, you would have gone through a lot more scenarios compared to him.
It's fair to say.
When do you know when to say, Jack, actually, before you make this substitution, for example, or before we make this tactical change?
Yeah.
When to have that input?
I think, you know, I'm not that sort of person where you got to listen to me and that's it. As a number two, you suggest. You don't tell, you suggest. He's the leader, he's the manager. You know, he will ask Tim, he will ask Bridgie, ask us as a group. But ultimately, it will be his decision. And then if it's right, great. If it's not, you pick and choose your time when you say, actually, next time, what would you do in that scenario? Sometimes you suggest and you say, not for me, fine, because it's your job to help. And maybe, I've been there as a manager, you get so engrossed in the game, sometimes you're not thinking about other stuff because you're seeing things as they happen. And that's where, as a coaching staff, we've just got to mention, what about this? What about changing this player? What about going a different way? He's very open, which is a brilliant trait of, tell me what I need. Tell me how can I get better. And I think that will hold him in good stead moving forward. Because I don't think you should underestimate what he knows already. But equally, it's about just support, lending knowledge, learnt behaviours and experiences to him, that then next time he's in it, he knows exactly what to do.
If you could pick 3 things now which we need to start doing as a football club to start changing our fortunes, what would the 3 be?
Wow.
Instead of winning games of football.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah. Togetherness. I think that's massive. I think if there's a disconnect, you're not going anywhere. You're not. I've been in enough teams. I've been promoted 6 times. 5 times as a player, once as a manager. Every team had a trait, and that was, this is us, And when I say team, I mean football club. You're going to have little moments of negativity. You're going to, things won't go your way. But I think that's huge. Oh gosh. I mean, you say 3. I like that 1. Yeah. I want that to be us. I want that to be Luton Town. I think if we are going to be a force in League One, because that's where we are right now, I think we're going to need that and go on this journey and this experience together. We need to create a winning environment, and we've got to be as purposeful as we can in everything we do, and that's what I want from us, because I think it can only help us. I think this is a wonderful football club. I'm honoured to be part of it, for sure. I was in another job and I came straight here as soon as I heard. It happened in 48, 72 hours. I want it to be successful. I really do. I haven't come here for anything else, so I want it that bad. I want everyone else to feel that way as well, and the staff do, and I want the supporters to feel like that as well.
Thank you. I think that's a perfect way to end it. Thank you
Top
so
man.
much.